Hello and welcome to CAT Scan. My name is Adam Green, and as always, I'm here to talk about the Arizona Wildcats. Not a good one for the Wildcats this week. They lost to Oregon State 38-35. They fell behind early in the game 17-0, but did rally back to make it 21-17. Back and forth from there. It was one of those games where, you know what, I thought Arizona was going to win midway through the second quarter. The offense got going, they rallied, and even twice the Wildcats had the ball late with a chance to make it a two-score game. But one drive ended with an interception at midfield, another ended with a punt, and they ultimately gave Oregon State too much time, let's be honest. We all knew with about 5 minutes left that even though the Wildcats had the lead, there was a lot of time because Arizona's defense showed no ability to stop Oregon State in this game whatsoever. And it was that defense and a lack of depth that did the Cats in. You know what the problem is? We knew that would be their issue all season. They lost safety Jared Tevis in the first quarter. They lost lineman Kyle Quinn in the second half. And overall, the Wildcats, they're not a very talented team, and you take away some of their best players, they're in trouble. Overall, the Beavers racked up 613 yards of offense against Arizona. Sean Mannion, their quarterback, threw for 433 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looked great in this game, and Arizona had no hope of stopping him. So what do we learn from this game? Well, you know what? Reality checks just aren't any fun. We knew Arizona wasn't any better than Oregon, which we saw a couple weeks ago, but we all hoped that the Wildcats could beat a tough Oregon State team at home. Yeah, the Beavers were ranked, but still it was in Tucson. And that the Wildcats couldn't beat them is not a sign that Arizona's a bad team necessarily, but absolutely the optimism gained from the 3-0 start is certainly gone now. At the same time, Arizona did show great heart in this game, but heart only takes a team so far. You need talent, which the Wildcats just don't have, or at least they don't have enough to beat some of the good teams unless they're on top of their game, which they weren't against Oregon State. And unfortunately, right now, Arizona's in a stretch of games against only good teams. They have 6 straight. They've already played at Oregon versus Oregon State, but they have at Stanford versus Washington versus USC and at UCLA. Their 3-0 record at the beginning of the year may quickly turn into 3-6, not because the Wildcats aren't good, but because they just aren't good enough. Coming up next is those Stanford Cardinals. If we thought the Wildcats had trouble with Oregon State's physical style, which they did, things are about to get even tougher. Arizona heads to Palo Alto to take on the number 18 ranked Cardinal. And let's be clear, Stanford isn't as good as they were the last couple of seasons when Andrew Luck was running the show, but they are still a good team. And they're a real tough matchup for the Wildcats because you have to remember this is a team that was just too physical for USC just a few weeks ago, and Arizona isn't exactly the most physical team themselves. For the most part, the Cardinals like to keep the ball out of quarterback Josh Nunez's hands. Instead, they gave it to running back Stefan Taylor, and that's good because the Wildcats can't stop the pass, but it's also bad because they can't stop the run. So kind of got to pick your poison in this one. Tight end Zach Ertz, it will be a tough cover for the Wildcats in their 3-3-5 defense, but truth be told, this game will be won and lost in the trenches.
Looking at their size, I didn't look at them a great deal because I didn't want to get too discouraged. But look at the size of their tight ends and their backs and their O-line. I mean, this might be the biggest team in college football.
Really, what it comes down to is Arizona simply does not have the size to match up with the Cardinal on defense. And barring a flawless game on offense, they'll struggle to keep up in this one. And given the health of Matt Scott, he was dinged up against Oregon State, I don't see that happening. My prediction for this one, Stanford 41, Arizona 20. I don't like it any more than you do, but Stanford is just too good for the Arizona Wildcats. So for more on the Wildcats, you can check out the podcast I host with Jarrett Carlin called Bearing Down. And if you want my thoughts on a variety of subjects, you are welcome to follow me on Twitter at @TheAdamGreen. Thanks for watching CAT Scan, and we'll do this again next week right here on ArizonaSports.com.